right, good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alyssa Jacobson. I am the current 7th grade counselor. And on your tables, as we already mentioned, is an agenda of what today will be like, as well as a credit check sheet that we'll be going over a little later in the presentation. We are pleased to have counselors from George Mason High School here today. And I'm going to turn it over to Amy Kurjanowicz right now.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for being here. I'm Amy Kurjanowicz. I'm Director of Counseling at George Mason. I'm finishing up my 19th year at George Mason this year, so I have been there a while, and I've worn many hats while I've been there. And we've done many of these discussions with parents, so we anticipate your questions. But I did make a mistake last week when I visited with parents here. I did not have an agenda, and we really got off track of what the goal of today was. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to stick to our plans for today. I know parents are concerned about courses that students are going to take next year. So hopefully you'll join us Wednesday night, the 12th, over at George Mason in the cafeteria, where we're going to go over the whole registration process. We're going to talk about all courses that are available to students in 9th grade. We're going to talk about levels of courses, and we're going to have experts in those disciplines with us to answer your questions. So if we could wait until the 12th for those specific questions, our goal for today is to share with you different kinds of transcripts now that your students will be going to high school, that they'll have an opportunity to earn, and go over what we call our credit check sheet. Good morning, you're good. But first, I also wanted to introduce Marcia Schumann. Marcia is a counselor at George Mason, and she's been at Mason middle school and high school for 17 years. So your kids are in great hands. Marcia will be a 9th grade counselor, and I'm going to let her talk for a second too. Marcia will be a 9th grade counselor, and she'll have the beginning of the alphabet up through the letter K. And then Valerie Chesley, who could not join us today because she's at a meeting at the high school, she'll have the end of the alphabet for 9th grade. And I have some students in 9th grade. So, Marcia, would you like to say just a couple words? Or?
You already said most of what I was going to say, but just to give you a little bit of background, I was the Director of Counseling for the middle school when it was George Mason Middle School. And I've worked with 8th graders. This is the first year in 26 years in education that I didn't have 8th graders on my caseload. So I've worked a lot with 8th grade students transitioning to 9th grade, and I'm looking forward to doing that again next year. And I look forward to getting to know all of your children, or at least A through K.
Well, we work collaboratively, so sometimes we see other students as well.
Alphabet.
Valerie Chesley, C-H-E-S-L-E-Y.
Thank you.
Morning.
More of us to come.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, is it okay if I continue? If I don't,
Yeah, well, we'll have everything from today posted on the website, so if you guys have missed anything, we can just have you go and check the resources right on the website.
okay, so let's start with standard diploma transcript. Oh, sorry, we're doing the transcript. I'm sorry, sample transcript. Okay, so I actually have a few different transcripts here for students. Obviously, their identification has been marked out because that would not be fair to share. But there are different kinds of things that you'll find on transcripts that I just wanted to share with you. If your students are taking any high school credit-bearing classes this year in 8th grade, such as algebra or geometry, a foreign language, and they're probably taking World Civilizations 1, they will get high school credit for it, and it will be on their transcript. So a standard transcript for Falls Church City lists identifying information about a student. It tells what type of a diploma, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, the student is going to be getting, the student's counselor, or school information. And then to get down to the nitty-gritty, we're on a semester basis at George Mason High School, and 2 semesters equals a full year. So our transcript is broken down into semesters. Each semester it will show where the student took a course. So up here it will say Mary Ellen Henderson Middle School for your students. And then it will give the grade, grade 8, the year that they took the courses. It will give the course number, the course title, the grade the student got, and the number of credits the student received. And because we're on a semester basis, each semester, each course is worth a half a credit each semester. Morning. If your student transfers into George Mason, here, I can move some stuff here. If your student were to transfer while their time at George Mason, out of the country, out of the state, out of Falls Church City, and take courses at another school, wherever they receive credit when they come back, it will list that school's name. So these are little things that you're going to find on a transcript. At the end of the transcript, it will show the cumulative GPA, meaning the grade point average that they've gotten throughout their time taking high school courses. At the end of each semester, it will show the grade point average for just that semester. We're following? Right. Okay. This student attempted 21.5 credits while in high school, but only earned 18.5 credits because this student did not pass all of the classes. So these are things that colleges and universities will see when students are applying later on in their senior year. Melissa, can we go to the next transcript? Okay, this is a student who started at George Mason, then left George Mason and went to an international school, and then came back to George Mason. So remember I said it would show the school's name. Here, if you could scroll up just a little bit, this student started at George Mason, then went to an international school. And the course numbers are blacked out because we don't have their course numbers, but we list the exact course that they took, where they got credit. We have hybrid courses at George Mason High School. High C is our term we use for it. It's computerized with a teacher in the room. And if a student takes a high C course, it won't say high C, but it'll list the course name. So I just wanted to show you different variables on the transcript.
SATs first. Bottom right.
Thank you. When the student takes the SAT or the ACT, we list them on there. That's a requirement for the state of Virginia to list the SATs and ACTs. However, if you're not satisfied or your student is not satisfied with their scores and you do not want them on the transcript, the state will allow you to write a letter to the principal requesting that they not be on the transcript. And I should share with you also that a transcript is a legal document. However, and an official document. However, the SATs are not considered official to the colleges on the transcript. They'll have to come from College Board or ACT. So whether it's on the transcript or not, it's not official. But you may not want them to see them, or you may want them to see them. We use the same student information system at the high school that's used here, Power School and Power Teacher. And Power School is set up so that the highest SAT scores, if they take them multiple times, is what will appear on the transcript. Okay? Yes?
Would they be weighting the GPA or class?
Good, very good question. All of our AP courses, which we have 4 of, and our IB courses are weighted. Our honors courses are not weighted, but it will appear on the transcript. So this student took these are all IB courses, and 10th grade. He wasn't here in 10th grade. A lot of our sophomores take AP Government. We'll show you that one on another transcript. That would be weighted. Calculus, good. There's an AP course. Calculus is weighted. This student took, I'm just looking for an honors, a plain honors.
Yeah, the student didn't have.
Okay, Alyssa, can we go to the next one? We'll find an honors course.
The class rank you asked, or the rank, we don't rank students at George Mason, so there's no rank listed. And anytime that we fill out any forms that ask for a rank, we put NR no rank. When there's a school that doesn't rank.
This student took honors English 9, so an H does appear here, but it's not a weighted grade. It just shows it's an honors
Can you
level
explain
course.
what that means, a weighted grade?
Yes, yes.
Any
So
definitions?
for each letter grade, they're awarded quality points. An A is worth 4 quality points, a B is worth 3, a C is worth 2, a D is worth 1, and an F is worth nothing. With a weighted grade, it's weighted up, so an A would be worth 5, a B would be worth 4, and so forth. So a student could conceivably graduate with over a 4.0 out of a 4.0.
So there's no A minus or? B
Yes, we
plus?
do have A minus, A plus, B minus, B plus, but they're weighted the same. So an A minus is weighted the same as an A or an A plus.
Which classes are weighted?
IB and AP only,
You basically get plus.
once.
It's not a multiplier,
It's plus one.
It's an addition.
Yes. So if a student had a B in a course, in an honors course, that would be worth 3 points. If they had it, if they were taking it at the IB level, it would be worth 4 points. But to let you know, a lot of colleges, when they get the transcripts to have everybody on an even field, they unweight the grades. So, but they see what they got, which is important, and the level of the course. What else did I have on here? Okay, so this student was in an IB Math SL course, senior year, and decided to withdraw from that course. The student did not need it to graduate and wanted to focus on her other classes. So she withdrew from this course, and what appears on the transcript is simply a W, showing she was in the class but withdrew from it. It doesn't affect her grade point average at all.
Okay.
Yep.
This student also was a student aide. An N on a transcript, on our transcript, means no grade intended, meaning we don't give credit or a grade when a student is a student aide. Sometimes a student wants to be a student aide because they want to help a teacher in a specific discipline, it's their interest, something they enjoy, but then they have room in their schedule. Yes?
When they take high school classes in middle school, does that factor into their GPA, the grade that
Yes.
they receive?
Yes, we started off with that, and I apologize, and I'm
I'm
going to
sorry,
show
I
you
missed
that on here. Any high school credit-bearing class in 7th or 8th grade from Mary Ellen Henderson will be on the transcript, and I'll explain
I
the
saw
others.
those on the transcripts, but I didn't know how the grade affected their overall high school GPA.
It's just as if they were in high school taking the course, it would be exactly the same.
I was gonna ask if you could talk about if they don't want that.
Yes, that's that. So if your student is in Algebra 1 this year, that's a high school credit course, and it would appear on the transcript. You may feel that the grade the student received is something you really don't want factored into the grade point average, and you really don't even want on their transcript as an 8th grader. You can have that grade expunged, meaning taken completely off of the transcript. And the way you would do that is you have to write a letter to the counselor any time prior to the student's beginning of the student's 10th grade year. And then we will expunge it. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean the student retakes the class, or does the student just go on to the next level? Truthfully, I think that the student probably will retake the class. Kind of looks funny to not have Algebra 1 and then have geometry and Algebra 2, and that might be a question. And if you don't think the student was that successful, then you probably want the student to gain more knowledge and have a greater foundation so that they will be successful as they move on in their math level. But you can have it expunged and taken off. It is only, that only happens when when it's taken in middle school. It doesn't happen as they go on in high school.
And if you have it expunged, please understand that that means it's as though it never existed. So, you know, if it's a course that the student would want someone to know that they took, it's not going to exist on the transcript. No credit, no it doesn't factor in the GPA, and it doesn't show up at all.
The other thing that the student has an option of doing is just simply retaking the class, which means, let's say your student is taking Algebra 1 now, and the student wound up with a C. And you didn't feel like the foundation was that great. The student could take Algebra 1 in 9th grade, and maybe the student got an A. If the C has not been expunged, because you've chosen not to, then the credit and the quality points would go to the higher grade, but it would all appear on the transcript. It has to be expunged for the first one not to appear. Yes,
How many times can you expunge a grade?
for any middle school course. So however many middle school courses your student might take. Remember, it's only for middle school course.
Is there a statute of limitations?
Up till the beginning of the 10th grade year.
Okay, but you have a certain amount of time to.
Up to, and,
Oh, okay.
up till, I mean, if you know at the end of this year that Algebra 1, I just keep using that as an example, that you want it to be expunged, there's nothing wrong with sending a note to Alyssa, Afton, would it be Afton?
I think you just send it to,
Or to me,
or to counseling, I mean, we can.
exactly, and then we would take care of it then, and then you don't have to worry about it, and your student would take Algebra 1 next year. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, for further clarity, are we talking still about classes taken up to 8th grade that are high school level credit classes, or are we talking about inclusive 9th grade?
No, we are only talking up through the end of 8th grade,
Okay.
only middle school classes. Can we just go to the next one?
Only high school
Okay.
classes taken in middle school.
High school classes taken in middle school, correct, it could be in 7th grade. Okay, this is an IB diploma candidate, so this transcript will probably show a lot more about, will show a lot more IB courses. And IB is not something that I planned on going into today. Mr. Misra, our IB coordinator, will also be joining us next Wednesday night, so if you can join us then and have questions, he'll be there. But that is not even his time to really get into IB very much. His time is coming. I think it's the week after that or the week after that that he's gonna have the night with all of you. What I think I just wanted to show you on here is that if you are an IB diploma candidate, you'll see a tremendous amount of IB courses. And again, without going into detail, colleges look at the levels of courses that students take as well as the grades. They want to know what the most rigorous courses of study are at George Mason High School and where a student fit into that, and that's how they determine it.
And this is an example of a GPA that's over 4.2. If you notice, the cumulative all the way on the right, about halfway down, cumulative GPA is a 4 point, I think 2 from here, that's what it looks like. But that's an example of where those
What we were talking
weighted
about.
grades have come into play.
I should also tell you that in the fall, well, how many of you have students at the high school or have had students at the high school? So I hope that you joined us this past fall for a round robin night, and I hope that all of you will join us this coming fall for a round robin night where we have quite a few rooms set up with people in there discussing different topics at George Mason, transcripts, graduation requirements, athletics, sports, activities, stress relief, lots of different things, technology. So a lot of this we'll go over again in depth. When a student is an IB diploma candidate, when we send it to colleges, it will be typed on there, not written like I did, but it will say IB diploma candidate, meaning they have not received the IB diploma, but they are working towards that. Yes?
If somebody gets an A+,
Mm-hmm.
what number does that correspond to?
If it's-
Forget about the IB, but.
Or just a general course,
You got an A+ in the course, are you getting a 4 or are you getting
a 4.
and if you get an A-?
You're getting a 4.
So anything that has the letter A.
Is getting a 4, exactly.
Thank you.
And anything that has a letter B
I
is
think I
getting
can do the
a
rest
3.
of them.
Good question.
Do we have any more questions on transcripts before we move on to the next topic? Did I leave that?
No.
Okay. Yes.
How do you get to see your child's transcript? You have to request it, or is
Yes,
it?
older, with it being a minimum of 16, they can also take courses at Nova and receive dual enrollment for Nova and for George Mason High School. And we also offer a dual enrollment geophysics course at George Mason High School where they can get credit for both.
But try to remember that the personal finance and economics is going to count for this virtual course. So in the majority of cases, you're not going to have to worry about this virtual course separate from the personal finance and economics. So it really shouldn't be that much of an impact for most students most of the time.
And that started just, that'll happen for these grade
Yes, it
classes.
actually is in
Ninth
place for our current ninth graders. So it will be in place for everybody following them. Yes.
So when a child signs up for a virtual course, is there a time constraint from the time they start? For example, let's say they're already carrying a full load and then they say, okay, I'm also gonna start this virtual finance course. Do they have just the one semester or can they take longer to complete it
We hope that they'll complete the whole course in a year.
in a year?
It's a 2-semester course,
Okay.
so we're hoping that they would complete it in a year.
It is self-paced, so there is the component of a student staying current and moving and continuing to move forward. So that's why we try to keep within that semester in terms of our thinking, even though it's virtual, because otherwise they can kind of procrastinate, as we all know, and then it gets.
So hypothetically, someone started this January, right, in the high school, and they're working on it now, then they could, over the summer, potentially complete it.
Absolutely. Absolutely, for sure.
Yes.
Okay, the verified credits, as I mentioned, I would get to that. There are SOL courses. When a student takes a course that has an end-of-course test called SOLs, or Standards of Learning in the state of Virginia, they get a verified credit. I'm just going to start with social studies. For a standard diploma in social studies, they need 1 verified credit. And Alyssa, can you just go all to the top of it? Thanks, hon. For social studies, there are 3 courses listed there. Out of those 3 courses, only 2 of them have an SOL. World Studies 1 and US History. Government does not have an SOL. So they would have an option of taking the SOL in one of those. As an 8th grader taking World Studies this year, they are going to take the SOL at the end of the year. If they pass it, they now have a verified credit in social studies. So they satisfy that requirement. Thank you. Math, they need 1, and Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 all have SOLs attached to them. Science, they need 1. Biology and Chemistry have SOLs attached to them, as does Geophysics, not physical science, but Geophysics. They have a choice of any other SOL for a course that they've taken and passed to take. For English, they won't take an SOL until their junior year. That's the only year that it's offered. Well, it's offered to verify an 11th grade English course. Can we go to an advanced diploma?
Can
Remember
I ask a quick question
Yeah.
on student choice?
Sure.
Does that just get taken care of, or is that a detail that we need to be paying attention to that?
I think the student and the student's counsel will be paying very close attention to that.
Okay.
If you ever notice anything or question anything, please contact the counsel. Or have the student come in and see the counsel. We really want the students to come meet with us. We really do. That's what we're there for. We're there to work with you as well, honestly. But we really want you students to come see us.
Particularly with the standard diploma, by the time a student has taken, let's say, 3 math courses, they only needed 1 math course to verify, so that student choice is taken care of kind of automatically, to answer that part of the question.
That's true, 'cause they
So,
take-
yeah, right, and that just often happens in the course of them taking all of their regular courses.
Yes.
I'm sorry, is the verified credits part of the standard, or is that over and above the standard?
When you say standard, I don't,
You said this standard diploma is part of it.
it is part of the standard
So
syllabus.
is it, and so the social studies course in the verified can be one of the, is that what you just said?
Yeah,
Is-
so a student's gonna take, for the standard diploma, 3 social studies
Right.
courses. And they only need 1 verified credit. So they're gonna take an SOL at the end of the year for that class. Whenever a student is taking a course and there's an SOL attached to it, the student takes the SOL. Whether they need the SOL for their graduation requirement or not. So when they finish World Studies 1 in May, they're gonna take the SOL. If they pass it, they've satisfied that verified credit and that course. Am I not?
No, it makes, I'm understanding.
Okay.
I'm just not understanding the philosophy behind it. I got it.
That's a state.
I got that. I got that.
Yes.
But if they don't pass the SOL, then that would not count.
Well,
as part
what
of
would
the
happen
verified
if they
credit,
pass the course
But not the test.
and not the SOL, then they get credit for the class, and then they can retake the SOL. And if they're not successful when they retake the SOL, and they can retake it a few times, if they're not successful, then they can take another SOL in another course in that discipline. And we have supports in place to work with students if they're not being successful on the SOLs, for sure. Okay, so that was a standard diploma.
For standard, we don't have, standard doesn't have to take work studies too?
Yeah. But, and I'm gonna explain that on here. Absolutely. So that was a standard diploma. Remember, a student is only required to have a minimum of 22 credits. For an advanced studies diploma, they're required to have a minimum of 26 credits. So now we've just ramped it up a bit. They're gonna be required to have the same state mandates with additional courses. Still 4 years of English, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. But now, instead of 3 years of social studies, they need 4 years of social studies. So they have a few options. They can take, and I don't have it separated here, World Studies 1, which they're taking this year. This would be World Studies 2, which a lot of our students, most of our students take in 9th grade. That was the question. They will take government, and they will take history. Now, if a student does not want to take World Studies 2 in 9th grade, they're not required to, but they're still going to need 4 years. This would be 8th grade, nothing 9th, 10th grade, 11th grade. In 12th grade, they would take another course probably called Modern World History. So that would satisfy their 4 social studies credits. If a student is an IB, wants to take IB courses for certificates or for the IB diploma, then a student would take probably 8th, 9th, 10th. But in 11th grade, we have another course called History of the Americas, IB History of the Americas, which satisfies the U.S. history requirement. And then they would take a follow-on course in senior year called IB World History. So they're actually getting more. And a lot of our students, I keep saying minimum, a lot of our students take more courses than what is just required. And they didn't have to take the World Studies too, even for an IB diploma, but it's there. Yes?
I'm gonna guess somewhere there's a document that shows course progression.
Yes, absolutely. You don't have that right now, but you're going to get that on February 12th.
On the 12th.
If you attend on the 12th, what alternative is there?
You have great alternatives. Number one, our program of studies book, which has those guidelines in it, will be online, and hopefully it'll be online by Monday. And so you can access that there. In addition, this is being videotaped, and I believe the 12th will be videotaped, so you'll be able to view what was happening on the 12th that you couldn't be there for. And then we have counselors at the middle school and at the high school. So we're here for you. They have to have a minimum of 4 years of math, at least at Algebra 1 and above. So they have to have Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and keep going on. A lot of our students go pretty far in math, especially if they started math in the middle school. They do go up. Science, that goes up 1 extra year too, and 1 extra requirement. Science, they have to have at least 4 years, and they have to be in 3 different disciplines: the biological, the physical, the chemical. Now, if a student, I'm going to say this real quickly, if a student is an IB diploma candidate, only an IB diploma candidate, and they really love biology, I'll use that as an example, then in 9th grade they would take biology. Probably in 10th grade they would take chemistry, so now we have 2 different disciplines. They love biology. In 11th grade they might take IB Bio, HL1, which is a higher level, and then their senior year they would probably take the follow-on course called IB Bio, HL2. So now they've had 4 years of science, but only in 2 disciplines. The state of Virginia will waive the 3-discipline rule only if a student is an IB diploma candidate. So there are some options there. Foreign language. Remember I said foreign language was not required for a standard diploma, but they could take it. Foreign language is required for an advanced diploma. Alyssa, can you just scroll? Thanks. For an advanced diploma, they must have a minimum of 3 years of the same language or 2 years of 2 different languages. Now, if they're coming to the high school with foreign language credit, they're well on their way. And we go very high in all 3 of our languages that we offer: the Mandarin, Chinese, the Spanish, and the French. In 9th and 10th grade, they're required to do the PE, as we talked about, Here's that that economics and personal finance course that's still required for the state, as also that virtual, one course being virtual. And they have to have 1 credit in fine arts or career and tech ed, and then 3 electives of their choice. And the electives for an advanced diploma do not have to be sequential electives. So if they really want to experience many different areas, they can certainly do that. And the verified credits get ramped up even more for the advanced studies diploma. The English gets verified in the 11th grade, as is for the standard, but now they need 2 social studies verified credits, and 2 math and 2 science, plus 1 of their choice. Questions?
Yes, so foreign language, if they're coming from, if they have bring credit with them from the middle school and decide to switch languages, this might not be the right place to ask this, but if they are thinking about doing an IB track, is it too late to switch?
No, it's not too late to switch. In 9th grade. Yes.
What are the science classes again that are verified?
Biology, chemistry, and geophysics.
Which is called earth science by the state.
Right, but not physical science that they're taking this
But
year.
none of the physics?
No, no.
And which were the social studies ones?
World Studies 1, World Studies 2, US History. Yes.
Maybe a very simple question. So when you say advanced diploma, does that mean IB?
No.
AP? That's,
No.
We're gonna talk about that with the other guy.
No, it's completely different, because, okay, so to get rid of any confusion, the state of Virginia has 2 diplomas, a standard diploma and an advanced diploma. If a student wants to pursue the IB diploma, I always call that the icing on the cake, it's an additional diploma. But all the courses that they're taking for the state requirements go towards the IB diploma as well, and vice versa.
And for the IB diploma, is the advanced diploma, is the icing on the advanced diploma, or could it be the icing on the standard?
However you want to look at it.
Got it, okay.
But in order to graduate from Virginia, you must have a standard or an advanced diploma. You do not have to have an IB diploma, but you must have one of these 2.
So are you saying a standard diploma is satisfied in an IB diploma?
The courses a student takes to pursue the standard diploma will be used on their way to the IB diploma, yes. And we as counselors and Mr. Mishra work very closely with the students to do all of this. I know you don't believe me, but we really do. We really do.
So if somebody's on the IB track then, does a college see they went for the standard diploma but they got an IB, or how does that play out?
Every college is different, and I won't speak for everybody, because I can't. But generally, our students who are pursuing the IB diploma generally pursue the advanced diploma. But we do have students who move into Falls Church City who have lived overseas or lived in different states where the requirements are different, and they really can't meet the requirements for the Virginia Advanced Diploma, and they're working on the IB diploma, and finish by the end of their senior year. So they do get the standard diploma. They do get that. And truthfully, I think colleges, what they really are looking for, and we do check a box if they're an IB diploma candidate, so they know that right off the bat when the student is applying. But what the colleges are looking for are what are your highest level courses that you offer at your school, and did that student pursue that? If they got an IB diploma, those colleges know that they pursued the most rigorous courses that we offer them. If they got a standard diploma, they may not have. But if they transferred in, the counselor will be writing a letter of recommendation, and all this gets explained in the letter of recommendation, along with the student's essay. Hopefully they'll use some of that. Hello. Yes?
I have a question about this career and tech ed requirement, or fine arts.
Okay.
Career and tech ed, what would those classes be? I know that you have a tech class, computer science. What would be the classes on the career tech?
I didn't hear what you
I said she's naming them.
Right,
You're
right.
naming them.
We don't have an
Computer
abundance of
graphics.
this. Right, we
Okay.
have computer graphics, we have architectural engineering, engineering drawing, computer science, regular computer science, and up to the IB levels of computer science. And our students also have an opportunity, if they choose, to go to the Arlington Career Center, which is a phenomenal facility that our district allows our students to go to. Our district pays if students want to go to this and pursue some sort of a career discovery or career certificate. Oh, that's what I forgot to tell you. There's another requirement that just came into play in the state of Virginia. If a student is pursuing a standard diploma, not this one, the other one, the 22 credit one, if a student is pursuing a standard diploma, then they also must pass what we call a workplace readiness exam, which is written from the state, given to us from the state, and we administer it. Or they can get a CTE certificate. So if they went to the Career Center and they studied animal science, they could get a certificate from that, and that would satisfy the state. Or culinary arts, or
And that's so new, we don't have it on our credit check sheet yet, but next year for your students, we will actually be a box that we'll be checking.
yes.
Can you talk about taking courses at Nova?
Yes, those are the dual enrollment courses. A student has to be at least 16 years old. They have to take a placement test at Nova, either at Nova, or we offer them in the spring at George Mason High School. We have a counselor that comes from Nova and actually gives the placement tests. So they have to pass the placement tests, have to be a minimum of 16, and then they can take courses at Nova. And if they take courses at Nova while they're at George Mason, we have a form, it's called our dual enrollment form. We would hope that they would want to get credit for at George Mason as well as at Nova.
So they can get college prep process out of the way while they're in high school.
Yes, but now, you pay for that. But the one course you wouldn't pay for would be geophysics dual enrollment at George Mason High School, where they get credit.
Plus there are advanced placement classes at the high school that also do college.
Well, I'm not gonna get into that, that's why we're following the agenda, that got me off track last week.
Can I just be clear, the career and tech ed is only out of that category. The career and tech ed is required for the standard, I mean, that it has to be a career class, but what, in the advanced one, can it be fine arts or career
Yes,
and tech ed?
yes. You don't need the certificate for an advanced studies diploma, you only need the certificate for the standard diploma,
Or to pass the test.
or to pass the test for the standard diploma.
I just wanted to urge people, there is this weird overlay with the IB program, because I've got a 10th grader who's obsessed with physics. And he's gonna be doing 3 years of physics, which I think means he's gonna get a standard diploma and an IB diploma. So listen to your kids, they know their way through. So they come home with a lot of advice, so, and a lot of information. So just urge you to listen to them.
Well, some do, and some don't talk very much.
I was just following up on that. Do the students get a similar briefing to this, where they understand the rubric and what's going to happen?
So, starting on Monday, during what we call Mustang block, which is a 30 minutes set aside, 26 minutes set aside each day, we will be meeting, the counselors will all be meeting with grade levels. And we will be reviewing the registration process, the course selection process. This is the time, and I hope you'll remember this for next year, this is the time when we meet with them. We want them to be banging on our doors to say, I want to register for this course. Do you think this is the right course for me? We're hoping they're coming to get some advice. We're also hoping they're talking with their current teachers. Their current teachers this year know what's expected when they walk into a class next year the first day. So if a student is in, I'm going to get off track, don't let me.
You're already ahead of
I
time.
know. I only have a couple more minutes. If a student is in Honors Algebra 1 this year as an 8th grader, do they take geometry or honors geometry next year? I hope your student is going to that Honors Algebra 1 teacher right now and saying, what do you think is the best class for me next year? And then I'm hoping the teacher is going to say to your student, well, I think that you're prepared for this, this, and this, based on what I've seen. And the teacher that you get next year is going to expect that you know this, this, and this. Yes, I think that honors geometry would work great for you. Or I think geometry is what you should take next year because you need a greater foundation. You need a slower pace.
And we are going to go into this in great detail on the 12th. In all honesty, there are going to be department clerks there who can talk more about the individual courses. It really will be an eye-opener for you, really help you to understand better the different courses that are offered.
So we will have Ms. Weber? Yes.
Well, I was gonna say as far as with current eighth graders, I don't know if that was your question about the kids here, what they're gonna receive. We're creating a check sheet, kind of what they did last year for eighth grade, that will give them options. We'll go into classes and kind of talk about, we certainly won't go into this kind of detail because we're not looking to overwhelm. Freshman year, a lot of what they're taking is gonna be similar across the board, but we will certainly talk to them about that. And they will get the form to take home, have discussions with you guys, in order to make the appropriate decisions as well as with their teachers. So we will be going through it with them, but not in as extensive details we are with parents.
Ms. Krajanowicz, you have about 5 minutes left until the next class comes
Well,
in.
Ms. Schuman, if you don't have anything, or if you have something, otherwise let's just open it up for more questions, or?
One thing I want to mention is that this is being videotaped, and the first session was also videotaped, so you can always look online. You had a question about AP that was answered in the first session, so you can look on the first session's video to find out the answer to that.
Or you can come Wednesday night.
Come Wednesday night.
I'm gonna be in California. Can I see the top of, well, fortunately, I've got a kid already ahead, so, you know, it's fun to do this the second time there. It's easier, but the requirements change. Okay, thank you.
And there's a copy of a credit check sheet. Yeah.
Of the advance?
They're on the
It's on
tab.
It's on the other side.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Thank you so much for being here this morning. We appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you next week.